Very, very sadly, the Giants' season came to an end last week. The Dodgers moved on. They're playing the Braves in the NLCS. And, happily for us, they're down 0-2. But on this show, unfortunately, we have to switch to off-season mode. And so coming up today, we're going to take a look at the players on the Giants who ended the year with the team and what their status is going into next year. Who's a free agent? Who's likely to come back? Who might be non-tendered? All those difficult decisions that are going to shape next year's Giants team. And, just a little bit of a hint, the Giants have so much money coming off the books. There are so many good free agents out there. So this is going to be a fascinating offseason for the Giants. Are they going to go after these top free agents? And the answer is probably yes. So we'll get you all set for it on today's Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you so much for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, now including YouTube, so check us out there. And coming up on today's show, as I said, we are unfortunately in off-season mode a little bit. Okay, so we're going to eventually have, time to go back and look at that NLDS Game 5, what went wrong, all that. For me, I took the weekend to kind of decompress a little bit. I don't know about you, but I just needed a break. I almost couldn't bear to look at the Dodgers playing the Braves in that championship series because I felt like it should have been the Giants who were in that series. And so anyway, that's neither here nor there. But happily, like I said, the Dodgers are down 0-2, so that's always a good thing. But on this show, the big question today is like the first day of the off season really for this show. And like, which direction do we go? There's obviously so many different ways that we can go here, but I just wanted to kind of prime you for what's to come in the offseason and basically what's the status of all the key players for the Giants and, the role players as well, because this team was loaded kind of top to bottom. The depth was on display all season long. So who's coming back and who's not? I think that's a question that people want to know the answer to. So I'm going to do my best to answer that now. And the first player to come up here that's of relevance for me is Buster Posey. Now, Posey just completed the final year of his 9-year, $167 million extension that he signed after the 2012 season when he won the MVP award. So it's obviously been a great contract for both sides. Posey has been very, very good for pretty much the entirety of the contract, the COVID year notwithstanding when he opted out. But anyway, that contract is up, and now the Giants are faced with a $22 million club option for 2022. And that club option has a $3 million buyout. So if they said, no, we don't want to pick up that $22 million option, they would have to pay him $3 million. So that kind of effectively sort of makes the club option like $19 million, I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to look at it, but okay, so Posey is eligible to receive the qualifying offer, which is a whole other thing that we'll talk about in more detail when we talk about some other players here. But, I lost my train of thought there. Oh, the idea was that they could potentially decline the club option, which would cost them $3 million, and then extend him the qualifying offer. But basically, the cost would be about the same. So I don't think that they would do that. So in my opinion, as long as Posey wants to play, it's kind of a no-brainer to pick up the $22 million club option. He played at that high of a level this season. He's obviously got the track record. You're not going to find a better catcher in free agency. And bringing a player back for a 1-year deal is like very little risk to the team. And so, if he starts to show signs of decline in 2022, then, but the contract is up at the end of the season. So it's not really a risky proposition. The question I have is, does Posey want to play in 2022 and beyond? He's got 4 kids now, 2 sets of twins. He's accomplished everything you could possibly want to accomplish at the major league level. And it's got to be a personal choice. Do I want to keep going through this grind? He might, but he also might not. And so that's, for me, something to very much watch out for. The Giants could pick up the option and he could just say, no, thank you. Like, he could walk away from that money. I don't know why I'm kind of feeling. I haven't really seen anything. I guess it's that he keeps saying he's gonna take some time and then sit down with his wife and talk about his future. So that to me just kind of rings a little bell that he might be contemplating retirement. So the other possibility is an extension, and that of course would also depend. That would be because the club option, the team can just pick it up, and he's under contract for 2022. Of course, he could always walk away, but it doesn't involve negotiation or anything. Of course, they'll want to involve him and not just blindside him by any decision. But anyway, if he wants to keep playing for some indefinite amount of time, or maybe 2 or 3 years, an extension is also a possibility with Posey. He's one of the best catchers in the game, and he's a Giant through and through. He said he never wants to wear another uniform, and the Giants shouldn't let him. He's that important to this team. So that's kind of where I stand on Buster Posey. Now, just quickly talking about the other $22 million club option the Giants have, Johnny Cueto. Now, Cueto just completed his mega contract that the Giants gave him prior to the 2016 season, 6 years, $130 million. That contract is up, but it does have a $22 million club option for 2022. And on that one, there's a $5 million buyout. And so this is a slam dunk, no-brainer decline. Cueto, they're not going to pick up the $22 million club option. It's not even close to being what he would be worth for next season. And so the Giants are going to pay Johnny Cueto $5 million to go away. Just saying it really bluntly. But, the production just hasn't been there. And, when I say go away, that's a little bit harsh. But they're not going to pick up a $22 million option. So they're going to pay him $5 million, and he's going to be cut loose into free agency. And I very much doubt that he'll be back with the San Francisco Giants. So Cueto has probably thrown his last pitch with the Giants. He had some, his first season was excellent, but after that, it was really kind of a mixed bag and a lot of poor performance and mediocre performance. So ultimately not a contract that was very beneficial to the Giants, and one, I'm not going to say they regret it because it didn't necessarily hurt them too bad, but a lot of money for not so great production at the end of the day. So anyway, coming up next, we'll continue to go through this. We'll talk about Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria, Brandon Crawford, the status of these players, and then everyone else in between. So stay tuned for that. But first, does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. All right, as promised, we're going to keep looking at some key players for the San Francisco Giants. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So the next big one for me is Brandon Belt. Brandon Belt just completed his extension. I'm trying to see. Yeah, so Brandon Belt was signed to a 5-year, $72.8 million extension, 2017 through 2021, and that contract is up. And so it's possible that that bunt on which he got hit in the thumb, fractured the thumb towards the end of the season there in Colorado, may have been the last pitch he ever sees in a Giants uniform, and that's sad. It's really quite sad, like when I think about the way that was all going and the captain stuff. It was just, he was like peaking in fans' opinions of Brandon Belt. I've always thought he's a great player. So many of you have always thought he's a great player, but there's always been ridicule from some Giants fans about Brandon Belt. But finally, I mean, the production was very much there, and then the personality was coming through in a way that many people probably hadn't seen before with the captain stuff. And he was just carrying the team. And then he breaks his thumb, and then they end up losing in the first round in 5 games, competitive series, playing the Dodgers. But anyway, it's just a sad way to go if it is, in fact, the last pitch he sees as a Giant. He has said he wants to stay. He has said he wants to stay in the uniform, I think. I actually don't know 100%. Sometimes I can't remember if it was him or if it was Crawford. I'm pretty sure Brandon Belt has said he sees himself in a Giants uniform, or he would like to play his whole career in a Giants uniform. So anyway, in my opinion, they're going to want to bring back Brandon Belt. They don't have a great answer at the first base position. It is a position, they have so much money coming off the books, and Belt is an example of that. He was being paid in 2021 $17.2 million, and that money is not obligated past 2021. So they could allocate it elsewhere, and they have a lot of that going on. And so it is a question, do they want to give Belt what he's going to make, which is going to be potentially a hefty-ish contract given the production. He has been very productive the last couple of seasons under the influence of these new hitting coaches, seemingly. He's basically been as good as ever, if not the best he's ever been at age, 33, 34? And so he may just want to test the market and see what other teams perceive his value to be, and see if he can get a pretty hefty contract, maybe get a 4-year contract for a guy who I think is 34 years old. Would he get a 4-year deal at 34 years old? I'm actually not entirely sure exactly what his age is. I know he was born on April 20th. He's 33. He'll be 34 on April the 20th of 2022. So we'll see. This show is not, I'm not going to predict the contract of every single player here, but Brandon Belt is a free agent. I think, I meant to mention this initially. They can offer him the qualifying offer, and the qualifying offer this season is worth $18.4 million. And it's basically, it's like the top, I forget the percent, but the top X percent of the highest paid players in the league for 2021, and what that average annual value is. And so that percent this year was $18.4 million. It actually went down. Last year, I think it was $18.9 million. So it's one of the rare times that number has gone down, which just goes to show you that after the COVID year, prices went down a little bit last offseason for 2021. Anyway, you don't need to know all the details, but that value is set at $18.4 million, and you can offer it to your players entering free agency as long as they've never been offered the qualifying offer before, and as long as they were on your team all season long. They weren't traded mid-season. So Kris Bryant, for example, cannot be offered the qualifying offer. But Brandon Belt has never been offered it before. He was obviously with the Giants all season long, so they can offer it to him. And it would be a raise over his 2021 salary, and I do believe he is the like one kind of slam dunk to be offered the qualifying offer. I don't know if he's going to accept it or reject it, but the fact is, if he rejects it, it hurts his free agency because so let's say he rejects it and says, no, I don't want to be back for 1 year, $18.4 million. You do that because you think you can do better in free agency, or you don't want to be with the Giants anymore. If you didn't want to be with your team, you'd say, nah. But the big point is that you think you can do better. And so a lot of times, like if Bryant stayed with the Cubs or if he had been with the Giants his whole career and the Giants put this on him, he's not going to accept a 1 year, $18.4 million offer because he can make much more than that in free agency. So sometimes it's like a formality. But anyway, if they reject it, then the team that offered it to them initially gets draft pick compensation if that player signs elsewhere. So anyway, it hurts the value of the player entering free agency. So it's kind of a messed up thing, and it's probably something that's going to be addressed in this new collective bargaining agreement, which is going to the old one expires, I think, December 1st, something like December 1st. And, you know, the whole structure of everything may very well be changed this offseason. So I don't know if that would apply to like current qualifying offer recipients. I don't know. And so that's something we need to dig into more. But anyway, Brandon Belt is definitely a qualifying offer candidate, and I would put money on him receiving the qualifying offer this winter. Last winter, the one Giant who received the qualifying offer was Kevin Gausman, and he accepted it. And it ended up being a good bargain for the Giants. Gausman had, you know, a very, very strong season, and they had him just for the 1 year deal. So now Gausman, that contract is obviously up. I guess we'll talk about him next. And they can't offer it to him again because he received it in the past, last year. And so Kevin Gausman enters free agency now. You get an exclusive window where you can negotiate with your own free agents, and I'm sure the Giants will try, but Kevin Gausman very well may want to test the open market. He had a very strong season. He probably wants to build up his, value, get a sense of his value, and see what's out there for him. And I don't blame him one bit. So that's going to be a big story. A huge story of this offseason is how many members of the Giants starting rotation are reaching free agency here. It's pretty much everyone except Logan Webb. I mean, it is everyone except Logan Webb. Like I said, Cueto's going to have his $22 million club option declined. Gausman is a free agent. Alex Wood is a free agent. Anthony DeSclafani is a free agent. And so, yeah, they're going to have to fill out their entire starting rotation. They have all this money coming off the books, but they're going to have to spend some of it because, there's not an obvious, it's not like they have a ton of minor league starting pitchers who are just ready to be inserted into the rotation next year. No, they're going to need at least 4 free agent or trade acquisitions who are starting pitchers. So coming up next, we'll continue to look through this, talk about the other, some other key players. And obviously, we're not going to have time to get to everyone today, so I guess this will be something we also continue as the week goes on. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There's really something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorites. If you don't know the Built Bar flavors, you're missing out. Coconut, cherry, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. My favorite flavor is raspberry. It's amazing how delicious these flavors, these Built Bar flavors are, yet they come in with a healthy profile. Just 4 to 5 grams of sugar to go along with 18 or 17 grams of protein and just 130 to 180 calories. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All right, as promised, we're going to look through some of the other players here, key players for the Giants. As I mentioned, the starting rotation is a big deal. I mean, Kevin Gausman, DeSclafani, Wood, and Cueto all reaching free agency. Somebody who's not is Logan Webb. I keep mentioning that. So we're kind of going to shift our attention from like players on expiring contracts. Let's talk for a second about players who are not on expiring contracts and what those contract statuses are. Logan Webb, just for those who are wondering, has 4 additional seasons of club control. He is pre-arbitration eligible. Now, some people have asked me, what is the difference between pre-arbitration and arbitration? That's a whole kind of big topic that I could do a whole show about. But the gist of it is, arbitration allows players to start earning some real money. And when you're pre-arbitration eligible, the team can just basically pay you the league minimum salary, which is like $570,500. And so once you start being eligible for arbitration, a lot of it depends on how good you are. If you're really, really good, you're going to make some serious money. If you're just, let's say Austin Slater, let me pull up last year's numbers. He was first year arbitration eligible. He was actually a Super 2, which is a whole other conversation, but he got $1.15 million in 2021 in his first year of arbitration eligibility. But he was a Super 2, so it was actually a little bit of a different case. Darren Ruff got $1.275 million in 2021 in his first year of arbitration eligibility. So yeah. Whereas, Mike Yastrzemski got $600,000 and he was pre-arbitration eligible. Now, this upcoming season, some of the notable pre-arbitration players, so players who are not yet eligible for arbitration, you typically get 3 years of arbitration, 3 years of pre-arbitration, 3 years of arbitration. And some of the players who are not yet eligible for arbitration for the Giants include Logan Webb in his final year of pre-arbitration eligibility. Lamont Wade Jr., exact same situation in his final year of pre-arbitration. Steven Duggar, same thing. Tyler Rogers, same thing. And then guys who are even further back on the clock, of course, Camilo Doval, he just made his Major League debut, so we're talking 6 years of Major League service time remaining for Doval. Kervin Castro, same thing, 6 years of team control. The thing is, though, with the collective bargaining agreement expiring in December, these are the types of things that may actually change. And I don't know if it would change to like existing situations or if it would only apply to like new major league players. I have no idea, and none of us has any idea. And so that's going to be a huge story this offseason. We will be covering it all along the way. We do these shows Monday through Friday still. Into December, I think we slow down a little bit in mid-December after the winter meetings, maybe 3 episodes a week. I forget exactly what it is, but we're daily through the winter meetings. So keep coming back to Locked On Giants. We'll be covering every bit of news and every rumor about everything with the Giants and with this collective bargaining agreement, which is going to be so critical to the future of our sport. Like everything, automated strike zone, expanded playoffs, arbitration, club control, qualifying offer, all that stuff is going to be on the table, so it's going to be fascinating. But anyway, let's talk about some players who are arbitration eligible, but may or may not be back. The thing about arbitration eligibility, when we hear about non-tenders and the non-tender deadline, it has to do with this. It has to do with players who are under club control still, who have yet to reach their last year of arbitration eligibility. So the players on the Giants who are eligible for arbitration in 2022, Alex Dickerson, Kurt Casale, Dominic Leone, Darren Ruff, Harleen Garcia, John Brebbia, Austin Slater, and Mike Yastrzemski. So all of those players can be retained if the Giants want to retain them. And so I think, Mike Yastrzemski is an obvious choice to be brought back, even with the struggles that he had. Alex Dickerson, probably a non-tender candidate, considering his projected salary through the arbitration process is up to $3 million. And the production just wasn't there, frankly, this season and into the postseason. He was just an automatic out towards the end of the year. Obviously, we know the potential is in there, but he's definitely a candidate. Darren Ruff, a candidate definitely to be brought back through the arbitration process. They have a decision to make on Curt Casale. They could just retain him as the backup catcher again, but they may want to go a different direction. I'm not entirely sure. So anyway, just to kind of talk about the last remaining critical players here before we wrap up, the Giants will be able to bring back Jake McGee is under contract through 2022. So Jake McGee will be back. The Giants have a decision to make on Wilmer Flores. He has a $3.5 million club option with a $250,000 buyout. So it's essentially a $3.25 million club option. They have a club option on Jose Alvarez for $1.5 million with a buyout of $100,000. So it's essentially a $1.4 million club option, which I think they would want to pick up. Tommy La Stella is signed through 2023, so he'll be back. Evan Longoria signed through 2022, so he'll be entering the last year of his contract in 2022, so one more year of Evan Longoria. Brandon Crawford obviously signed that extension. He was supposed to reach free agency or set to reach free agency, but they extended him for 2 more years at $16 million per year, so Crawford is signed through 2023. So I think that just about covers the key players. Kris Bryant, lastly, obviously a free agent now. So, they have the exclusive window. They can't offer him the qualifying offer. Donovan Solano also just completed his last year of arbitration eligibility, and he's set to reach free agency. So I think that just about covers the key players. I believe I said Wade Jr. is pre-arbitration eligible, so he can be brought back. So the Giants are in pretty good shape, except the whole starting rotation thing. So they have all this money freed up, but there's also a lot of good free agents out there. So, today was just day one. We'll have to continue to kind of go through this and get into more details about, some of the lesser known players and some of the details about what these contracts might be. But anyway, for today, I hope that was a good first day to kick off the offseason for you. So thank you so much again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, gives you his unique perspective on the majors, both present and past. That show is free and available on all platforms as well. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. You can follow me on Twitter at Ben Kaspick. That's Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. And also, if you're on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. So thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. We are a daily show, so thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.